and you can try all sorts of different orders with the notes. There's no real rules here. You just kind of listen until you make a sound that you like. Hello, my name's Matt Dahlberg, and in today's video we're going to learn how to noodle with our ukulele. One of the most asked questions I get from students is, how do I just sit and play the ukulele? And that'd be a lot like asking a chef, how do you just whip up awesome meals with whatever ingredients are on hand? Now, I'm not a cook, trust me, ask my family, but I do know it all stems from experience. The more recipes you learn and the more you learn how different ingredients interact together, the more you understand on how to create a dish that you love. It's the same with music. The more we learn about different ways to incorporate notes together and structures and chords and all of that, the more we start to understand how we can make sounds that we like. So that's what today is. I'm going to give you kind of these ingredients that work really well together so that you can start experimenting and make your own instant noodles. Let's go ahead and dive in. I'm going to bring the camera down. It's going to look something like this. And we're going to start this all with the in and out picking pattern. Now, if you're an advanced finger picker, you can use any combination of fingers that you'd like to do this, but if you're more of a beginner, I recommend using just two fingers. We're going to use the thumb and the index finger. Go ahead and start by placing the thumb on the C string, which is your third string right here, and your index behind your thumb here on the E string, which is your second string right here. See how they're offset a little bit over the sound hole. I'm going to start by plucking my C string with my thumb. As I pluck this, you'll notice I kind of go out a little bit, out towards the index here. Then I'm going to take my index and I'm going to pluck the E string. Now I'm going to move my thumb up to the G string and pluck that. If you're playing a high G ukulele like I am here, it's going to sound one way. On a low G, it sounds a little different. It works on both, it just has a different sound. After I've plucked that with the thumb here on the G, I'm going to take the index, I'm going to move it down, I'm going to pluck the A string, the first string here, just like so. So we started with the thumb on the C, then the index on the E, then the thumb on the G, then the index on the A. There's two more motions here. We're going to then use the thumb to pluck the G string again, and the index to pluck the E string again. And that is our in and out pattern. And it's called our in and out pattern because we go from the interior strings to the outer strings, back to the interior strings. And the magic is when we repeat it. By playing it again and again, it should sound something like this. So go ahead and try practicing this along with me, just with our open chord for now. This might take some practice, and that's okay. This is something that if you've never done before, you might be able to just do for hours and have a good time with. I know I did. But the next thing that we want to do is we want to start layering in something more, maybe a melody. And we're going to do this melody by just adding some notes on our A string. Go ahead and take whatever finger you want with your playing hand here, with your fretting hand, and fret the third fret on the A string. And go ahead and play. Should sound something like this. Now what we're going to do is we're going to go down to the second fret of the A string, using whatever finger we want right now. It doesn't matter too much. I'm using my middle finger here on the second fret of the A string, after the third fret played with the ring finger. I'm just kind of going back and forth between these two. And maybe I'll then go to the open string again. You hear how this creates a nice little melody. It's just wonderful to play. You can go up, down and up, any which way, and it sounds just so nice for such a little amount of effort. Keeping this going now, what we can do is we can add a little bit more harmony, and by doing that, we're going to change what the chord is. Now, right now, this chord that we're playing, it's a C chord. This chord, technically called a C major 7, and this one, technically a C6. But for all intents and purposes right now, it's just the C chord we're playing with different melody notes. So let's go ahead and change the chord now. And what we're going to do is, taking our open, we're going to add the first fret on the E string. This makes it into what's called an F add 9. And for all intents and purposes, it's just an F chord. That's really all that we're playing with here. But you can hear it sounds very different. I could just go back and forth between these two chords and you can hear how it starts sounding different. It's kind of nice, isn't it? Well, now I'm going to add our melody that we were playing. So the 3, Now maybe I'll do the same thing with that first fret on the E string. Adding the 3 and the 2 and the open on the A string. And just going back and forth, listen to this. Isn't that nice? This exercise is so cool because it's so modular. I'm just keeping my hand going with the same picking pattern and just changing up the chords and melody a little bit. The next exercise that I want to introduce is another chord. Let's go and play a G7. To play a G7, take your middle finger, add it on the 2nd fret of the C string, index on the 1st fret of the E string, and the ring finger on the 2nd fret of the A string, just like it looks like here. I'm going to do one rotation on this chord, and then I'm going to move the ring finger up to the 3rd fret, and then move it back down to the 2nd fret, and then move it to the open. I'm going to do this a couple times. So 2 on the A, 3 on the A, back to 2 on the A, to open on the A, all the while just holding this G7 chord, right? So the middle and index fingers never move, but the ring finger is transitioning to create this nice little melody. And maybe I go back to the C. Isn't that nice? Maybe I go back to the F. And now the G7. You can try all sorts of different orders with the notes. There's no real rules here. You just kind of listen until you make a sound that you like. Now this was all with the in and out pattern, just using these couple chords, and that's pretty neat. But what if we want to switch up the pattern? That's a great way to increase the variations to your options. And so what about this one? Instead of in to out, what if we go out to in? That might sound something like this. So how I play that is I play my A string first with the index, and then the thumb on the G, and then the index on the E, and then the thumb on the C, and then the index on the E, and then the thumb on the G. So it's the exact same pattern, just flip-flopped. What I love so much about this one is now it's giving you the melody string, the A string, out in front. So if you play melody with this one, more highlighted. Isn't that nice? It's very different than the in to out. And you can mix and match any way you want to create different sounds. That's another thing to kind of practice. In addition to trying out different patterns, we can also vary the chords and try out all sorts of different voicings to create, again, different sounds. Some of my favorites, because we're in the key of C major, can include like a D minor or an E minor or an A minor. So far we've kind of played a C major, an F major, and a G, right? But these minor chords can add different sounds. Instead of playing our normal everyday versions of these, which you're more than welcome to do, let's learn some spicy versions of these chords that are actually easier to play. First one is a D minor add 4. Oh my gosh, sounds so hard. All that it is index finger here on the 1st fret of the C string and middle finger here on the 2nd fret of the C string, or index finger on the 1st fret of the E string, excuse me, and the middle finger here on the 2nd fret of the C string. So we have 0, 2, 1, 0. On a high G ukulele, this creates a nice open sound. On the low G, it's a little bit different, but again, not worse, just different. But if I do my in and out pattern on this, you see it's a very different sound than some of the other things we've been playing. Another chord we can do is an E minor 7, which sounds really scary, but all that you need to do for an E minor 7 is, if you're coming from this one, you can take the index off, leave the middle where it is, and take the ring finger, place it on the 2nd fret of the A string. So we have 0, 2, 0, 2. And that sounds like this. Isn't that a cool sound? And then the A minor chord is really funny because it's, well, all open. And we've been playing that a lot for our C6, right? Well, A minor 7 and C6 are the same thing. And that's kind of weird to think about, but the most important thing is context. Sometimes when you intend it to be a minor chord, you can make this sound more minor. Other times when you intend something to be a major sound, it sounds more major. It just depends on what your intention is. Kind of like some ingredients work well in sweet and savory dishes. It's very similar here. And so using these different chords, one of my favorite patterns to play is to just go back and forth between the D minor and the A minor. So going back and forth between this 2 and 1 to the open. And that sounds something like this. And once you're done with it and wanting to go somewhere else, you can then go to the G7 to the C. D minor to the A minor. And when I'm done, go to the G7 to C. Isn't that a nice little thing to add? Here it is again. Isn't that great? It's just all these different ingredients to kind of play around with. The most important thing is, as you're doing this, knowing that there's no right or wrong way to do it. It's just whatever sounds best to you. And along those same lines, let's introduce a little concept for our last concept here today called chromaticism. Big, scary word. All that means is moving a half step at a time. So let's play that E minor 7, right? With the middle finger here on the second fret of the C string, ring finger here on the second fret, on the A string. I'm going to do my pattern on this chord. And then I'm going to move this down one step to the first fret. So I'm going to use my index finger here on the first fret of the C string, take the middle finger off. I'm going to play this. Now this is technically an A9 chord. It's a really cool sounding chord, but the name's not as important as the intention is here. I'm going to be moving my 2 down to 1. And then can you guess where we go from here? I move it down again to open. And that leaves us with our C major 7 for that kind of C sound. So going from the 2 to the 1 to the 0 creates a whole different vibe. And you can always do this when you're jamming and you're noodling. Just try moving things down one fret at a time. Lots of happy accidents happen from this. Maybe you move it back up. And these are all ingredients that just work wonderfully together to create your own, again, instant noodles, bringing the camera back up. This is a wonderful way to just start making music. And it's really important to remember that all of these ingredients I've given you here, well, it's up to you to decide which ones you like using and which ones maybe don't do it for you. And that's okay. There's nobody that can tell you what's good or bad except for you. So play what you enjoy with this, experiment with it, move up and down the neck, try all sorts of different things. It's all accessible to you by just experimenting, because the worst thing that can happen is you make a sound that you don't like, and then you know for the future that that one, maybe I didn't like that sound. Let's try another one until I find one that I enjoy. As always, if you have any questions at all, feel free to leave them down in the comments below, and I'll look forward to seeing you for the next tutorial video here. Thank you so much.